So what's Canada up to? Up there, they're enacting major tariff reductions on EV imports from China, opening the door to a new era of competition in the North American auto market, drawing sharp criticism. The new agreement, struck by that skinny little twerpy Mark Carney and the Chinese leadership, comes amid tense trade relations between Canada and Donald Trump's administration. Here's the reduction. 94% reduction. So the reduction in tariff rate on Chinese EV imports into Canada is going to go from 100% to just 6%. The deal applies to EVs priced at $33,000 or less. Here to talk about it, Daniel Turner, founder and executive director of Power the Future, powerthefuture.com, at Daniel Turner PTF on X. Daniel, good morning. Glad to have you here. How are you, sir?
Chris, it is great to be with you. What was with Macron's little glasses? Why was he wearing the black sunglasses speaking yesterday?
He claims he had a little eye itch, little allergy, wanted to cover up the puffiness. Right. I think he fell again at home with Brigitte. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
It wasn't that he. Yeah. Okay. He just wasn't trying to look cool, because it was a terrible look.
Well, in all sincerity, I joke a little bit about Brigitte, manhandling him. But do you remember the footage of him about to deplane from the Frenchy plane a few weeks ago? And she shoved him angrily right before they came out in a candid moment. I'm not kidding. I think there's something going on there.
Love right there, especially when the cameras are on.
There's trouble in the Macron home. All right, Daniel, here's what I want to know. In an era where nobody wants these stupid EVs, what's Canada up to? Yeah. Why are they, and why are all these globalists cozying up to China at a time we're clearly understanding that they don't mean any of us well, and they want global dominance? You got the frogs and the Canucks kissing up to China, Daniel.
Yeah, China is a terrible trading partner for any country that cares about its sovereignty. And it's odd, right, that if you're angry at President Trump and you're angry at America, you find the alternative then to get in bed with the communists that uses legitimate slave labor, right? I mean, child and slave labor. That's why every time I get frustrated when I hear people talk about China or Chinese success, and boy, you should see the cities in China, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, yeah, you can have great cities when you enslave huge percentages of your population, right? And when you lock people in their homes, and authoritarians can have very neat and orderly cities.
What China doesn't have, Daniel? You know what China doesn't have? Minneapolis. They don't have that in China.
They don't. Yeah. And that's attractive without a doubt. And order is attractive. All these people, when they look at China, they don't see themselves in the role of the enslaved, right? They see themselves in the role of the middle class. It's like when Bernie or Zohan Mamdani talk about communism or socialism, they don't see it from the workers' perspective, right? I mean, they see it from the elite's perspective, where the system is great. If you remember Zohan's inaugural, he had food, right? All the people he invited, there was no food, there was no water, there were no porta potties. And he was like, well, yeah, like you're the peasant. Of course, there's none of those things for you. There is for us. And so that's who China is. I know they dislike President Trump. I just think they're choosing the wrong adversary. Specifically, why cars? You remember not long ago, President Trump lifted regulations to enable very small vehicle purchase manufacturing here in America, something which I guess makes sense if you live really inside like Manhattan. I would never drive one of those little tiny Cinquecentos, quite frankly. I wouldn't fit in one. But I think since the president's trying to push for this new type of car in America, the EV is the direct competitor. The Chinese cheap, crappy EV is the competitor. And this is a way to kind of turn the screws on Trump.
But by the way, Trump has already said, and the White House has said, okay, Canada, do it if you want, but don't think you're going to come sneaking Chinese-made cars through our border. Like, we're going to hit them just the same as we would if they were coming directly from China, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people like Prime Minister Carney and Emmanuel Macron and the world, quite frankly, writ large, they need to start learning a very important lesson, that they need us a lot more than we need them. And quite frankly, we don't need them.
Did you hear Bessent yesterday? He was asked something like, are there any financial instruments that Europe can use that you fear or that would make you guys back down? And Bessent, without missing a beat, just said, nope. Nope.
Nope.
Do your worst.
Yeah.
And he's right, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and we like our Italian olive oil and our French wine, and all those things are fun, but they're not essential to our economy. And quite frankly, tragic, because all my ancestors come from Europe, but tragically, Europe now is a little bit like Disneyland, right? It's a little bit of like this novelty place where people still wear funny costumes. And you see, for example, this member of parliament who took to the floor, and used the F-bomb against President Trump, against America. I think he was from Denmark. And you want to say, buddy, they were burning your churches on New Year's Day. Your women are getting raped in the streets by North African Islamic hordes. You think America's the problem, right? Like, if you can't stand up to an invading army, I'm not really worried about what you're going to do in Greenland, right? And France said that France is sending like 100 Marines to Greenland. It's like, well, that's going to be a big battle, right? As soon as they hear the Chinooks, they're all going to get on the ground in fetal position and start crying. So I'm not really worried about anything that Europe can do. Of course, there's not going to be military intervention in Greenland. These people are so stupid. They really are that dumb that they don't understand the way the president negotiates, like America's planning for war in Greenland. It's just embarrassing.
Daniel Turner is founder, executive director of Power of the Future. He pays attention to the energy needs of this economy. So we're a year in as of yesterday. You want to grade this administration on their energy policy? I know you've been a little frustrated at the focus on AI and powering AI, but how do you grade overall the energy policy of this presidency?
A+, and the results show it. When you believe in freedom and free markets, and this is the most important thing about Donald Trump compared to previous administrations, Democrat and Republican. But when you believe in freedom and free markets, you get government out of the way and you allow the free market to operate. And President Trump is brilliant at many things, but he did not discover a new oil field, right? He did not invent a new technology. He looked at oil and gas and said, if we stop getting in your way, you guys will produce more for a greater number of people for a lower price point in the most efficient way possible. And that's exactly what happened. And that alone is monumental, because politicians, and we talk about this all the time in every other area, politicians, once they get power, they believe they inherently know things, right? Like, of course I know. I remember AOC a week on the job was talking about Israel and Palestine. It's like, you were a bartender a week ago, lady. Like maybe slow your roll. And she would say things like both houses, both chambers of the government, the House chamber and the Senate chamber of government. You're like, you don't even know the way the government is structured, but you believe you know things. And they do that with energy, right? Jennifer Granholm deeply believed she knew energy, and it was just spending money, pissing away hundreds of billions on wind and solar and EVs and batteries, and of course, investing. And what happened to our energy? What happened to our prices, right? When you believe in freedom, you let the free market operate. And for that alone, President Trump deserves an A++.
There's a Just the News, a new study by a coalition of free market think tanks finds New Englanders would save as much as $708 billion if it instead supported its grid with new natural gas plants instead of the greenhouse gas emission reductions they've been trying. Daniel Turner, founder, executive director of Power of the Future. Daniel Turner, PTF on X. Thank you, my friend. Great to see you.
Always a pleasure, Chris. God bless.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.